Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope everyone is okay. Probably, I can see a few people who are hungry, who are waiting for lunch. So we promise we will not take long. We'll stick to the timelines. First of all, although Lee has introduced the distinguished panel, I would like to introduce the panel one more time because I think the panelists that we have on the panel for today's discussion are very diverse. Within grocery retail, there are different formats. We have hypermarkets, we have supermarkets, we have convenience retailing, we have specialty retailing, and we have the panelists that cover every spectrum of grocery retail. And the other interesting fact is that we are all competing against each other. So it will be quite interesting to get the insights from our lovely gentlemen, the panelists, and obviously, we will hope that you enjoy the insights. So on the panel, we have Mr. Mohamed Al-Hashemi. Mohamed Al-Hashemi has been an absolute instrumental force behind Unicoop in Dubai. I think it's a household name. Everyone is aware of the fantastic job that you and your team are doing. So we are lucky to have you on the panel. Welcome. Then we have Mr. Frederic Levy-Perrault, CEO of Raya supermarkets in Saudi Arabia. Frederic has been in the region for a number of years. Before Raya, Frederic played a key role with Carrefour and many other players in the market. We also have Bejoy Thomas, currently CEO of Saphir Market, has tons of experience across the entire spectrum of grocery retail. Prior to joining Saphir Market, Bejoy worked for well-known names such as Spa, Bin Daud, Dubai Corp, and so on and so forth. And now he's on a mission to Abu Dhabi, sorry. And now he's on a mission, obviously, to transform his current organization. We also have Mr. Lito German, who is the CEO of Sarisari, which is a specialized retail format, currently targeting Filipino community segment, but also looking to expand the presence and growth across Southeast Asian communities in the market. And last but not least, we all have Manish, Mr. Manish Sabnis, CEO of Grandiose supermarket. Again, a household name, recently joined. Before joining Grandiose, Manish has a wealth of experience across different businesses where Manish has been absolutely instrumental to turn around many businesses, from startups to well-established organizations. So thank you once again, gentlemen. Now, the topic of our discussion is going to be around the transformation which is taking place in the market. Our sector is going through massive transformation, as is other sectors of the industry, because the data, the technology, the AI tools, they are absolutely transforming the marketplace. Not only businesses, but also how businesses are using that data to do the decision-making process, and then doing the balancing act between data-driven business decision-making as well as aligning those decisions with the ever-changing consumer preferences and behaviors. And then along with that, the third segment of our discussion is going to be around how do we then keep our workforces abrupt and in line with the changes that are happening in the marketplace. How do we retain them? How do we, obviously, what strategies the current CEOs are adopting to keep the workforce motivated, well-trained, well-developed, and be in line with the customer preferences. So that's going to be our topic of discussion. So my first question is going to be directed to all of you, please. And I would like to ask you one by one this question, which is pretty much what I just said, that in today's dynamic and competitive business environment, the consumer insights have become absolutely critical for CEOs to do the decision-making. How are you leveraging these consumer insights to drive your business strategy? And if I could start with you, Mr. Mohamed, first, please.
First of all, speaking about strategies and competition, the distribution of microphones actually seems to be strategically placed to compete on the microphones. Even the glass of water. So thank you so much for having a very competitive landscape of this panel. When we talk about customers and customer insights, we all come from the same, more or less, industry, but primarily listening and hearing on what customers would want to have, understanding the trade area, understanding as well the needs of each and every single segment that we operate in. You cannot have a planogram, you cannot have an assortment without understanding the customer base that you operate in. And such, it is extremely so important. One really important point, and I think my fellow colleagues as well would potentially agree, there is a new generation that just came to the market. They just started to be employed in the workforce. And those customers are just new. Their behavior is extremely new, unlike our behavior when it comes to buying and interacting with a retailer. So it's very important for the businesses to adapt to the new customers that just recently came to the workforce and became a purchase power sort of holders.
Fantastic. Thank you. Frederic, if I could ask you the same question as well, how are you leveraging the customer insights within a Raya business?
Yes, so we are based in Saudi Arabia, in the western part of Saudi Arabia, and the country is changing at a very, very fast pace. Lifestyle is changing, and our population with the youth reaching the market is changing, and technology also. I mean, now the phone is getting a shopping companion, and people are not just looking at the shelf, but they are also looking at their phone, and sometimes they're looking at their phone more than they are looking at their shelf. So we have obviously analyzed data, like I guess all my colleagues, and also observed our customers, and in all type of supermarket that is really positioned to budget-minded people, we have focused very much on convenience. There is streamlining the choice of offers to make clarity so that customers can do their shopping fairly fast. We worked also in terms of building an offer of entry price item, because in Saudi Arabia people are really getting more and more budget conscious. They are also trading down from sometimes big brands to no names. And we have a competition of hard discounter, and the idea for us was to say, let's answer to the customer's expectations. And so that's some of the strategic decisions we made. And then we also, and that was more to attract the youth, we have developed a lot of quality imports at very low price. That is, we look at the price point, and below that price point we go ahead, and we can see that actually as soon as we address customer expectation, it pays off. I mean, that's the fun part of retail, is the right decision is rewarded fairly quickly.
Absolutely. And like you rightly said, I think we all have worked in those days where we used to make our strategies on Excel file. So I think we are lucky that the tools that we have available now to have the access to the data is absolutely paramount. So Bejoy, obviously for yourself, we were having a conversation before offline, that sometimes too much data could be detrimental as well. It's just finding the right balance. So how do you find that right balance and leverage the consumer insights?
Thank you so much for having me here, and amidst peers of the industry, finally we have faces to the names. So it's a pleasure to be here, and let's hope we get a good one out of this. So I'll start where Frederic left, about customer information, customer knowing what the customer needs. So customer insights in any business is key. So anybody sitting in the room here, that needn't be taught. Yeah. So it's about the way it comes to you. Now, data, big data, how you break it down, how are these going to be put into useful information, how well do you manage them, how do you manage them, what is the kind of inferences that you get that can be put into play. I wouldn't undermine it at all. It is phenomenal. And it's about how you want to drive your business. And center of our strategy at Safir in most recent days is putting decision-making, database decision-making in the center of what we do. This is not different from what it used to be. I mean, back in the days, I'm sure if Excel broke down, none of us could work. Yeah, we all depended a lot on Excel, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I once remember being in Tesco, and they said if Excel breaks down, Tesco closes down.
Correct.
So what did Excel do that AI or what you call today, my God, data scientists, data science? No, I'm not undermining any one of them. Yeah, I'm a bit over 50, so I don't want to sound old school, but data science, data scientists, Python, SQL, they are basically making it far more productive than what we could derive out of Excel. So there's a lot that you could do, lot sooner, and far more effectively, far more precise with these information that these young boys that come to work give us, and we look good with it. So when we go to a meeting, we look, really clever based on the information that we get from these people. So going back to what Mr. Mohamed said, it touches everywhere. From pitching your tent, from pitching your plate, the location that you take. Today, you have, before it was finger in the wind, you look at it, you look at the catchment, you pick up some demography, you pick up some information from Nielsen, Deloitte, and you say, okay, fine, this is the perfect place, this is the break-even that I'll get, and you get going. But today, with data that you can get out of the smartphone users that pass by, I'm not promoting gap maps, but it gives you far better focus on what exactly are the kind of customers that you're aspiring for in that store. So you can really decide on promotions based on good inferences of data and say, do I really break my margins on assortment in a particular store that is not relevant to 70% of the demography that's around me? Or should I break my margins on things that really matter, that build my sales? Right? So where do I get that information from? Excel could take ages to give me that one. Right? So let's take the assortment, where this data comes from. So it's not just what we have in our IT department or our IS departments, yeah? Our partners, whom we call suppliers, pretty meaningful, but these guys have a wealth of information with them. All the pure play operators, aggregators that do our online platforms, these guys are sitting on a wealth of information. They can pitch a whole geography and say, this is the demography, and this is the kind of assortment that works there. That could decide your assortment master in that particular store, which could differ from your neighboring store. So unlike the restaurant business, each of us have anywhere between 50 to 75,000 SKUs on our shelves. And we operate on a very, very thin margin. Our net, if you know, I can tell you, we just look overpaid, but we wear good suits, but our net is very, very thin. And if we operate our business very, very well, we can nail that. We can nail that. Yeah, so how is data, and assortment is one, pitching the right plate is another, addressing the right promotions to the right customers is another. I mean, we operate, the stores that I'm operating now are pan-UAE, Safir markets are across the UAE. I've operated in Saudi, Bahrain, Qatar, Egypt. And I can tell you, UAE is a paradigm. Everybody knows this. We have people from 220 nationalities. Each of our pantries are different. So 55,000 SKUs, and I'm trying to hit that 420 SKU of a Korean national who's based in Dubai. Our pantries don't have more than that. So how do we get there? So all this is a wealth of information that you decipher from this big data that you have. But to top it all, it's human emotions. that is what really works, because end of the day, what all this leads to is customer delight. And delight is retention. And delighting them and retaining them is what gives us returns for what we do. So I don't want to continue like a college professor here, but being a grocer, and when you get a platform, you like to talk and you like to say your experiences. But I can tell you one thing, how much ever data comes in, how much ever of AI comes in, you could do AI and look like CEOs who are rock stars, you know, have a robot run through the aisle and say, I'm going to pick up my expiries, but I can tell you that will follow by a human who will go and recheck what the AI robot has done. It's good for the media, it's good for the press, a couple of YouTube shorts, but end of the day, you can't replace the human factor because, and someday it might reach there, I'm not denying that at all. In various industries, it's far, far more relevant than the grocery business. But having said that, customer has emotions, their skin, flesh, blood. They have a heart. One wrong move in the store, one pest can keep him away. So there's a lot of things that AI cannot come anywhere close to. But and customers, like I said, it's flesh and blood, it's emotions. And when you can plug in the inferences that you derive to the emotions of the shopper, that's when you take the right decisions.
Brilliant.
That's where I start.
Thank you, Bejoy. Thank you for the detailed answer. Lito, you are targeting a specialized segment of the market and obviously looking to expand into other nationalities. So how is the consumer insights and the data helping you build your strategy for your business and for what is coming in the future?
Thanks. So I think at Sarisari store, by the way, we're in startup phase, so I'm super honored to be part of this panel where we only have 2 stores so far, a 3rd one next month, and then we're 3 out of a planned 150 across the region, but we've got a long journey ahead of us. So we are learning as we go along. But when it comes to leveraging customer insights, I think the biggest challenge we have at Sarisari store is just how to stay away from the distractions. There's just so much. I mean, I can't imagine that we have more robust systems than Unicoop, for instance. But for us, we already have the systems in place, and I think it's just a matter of now trying to stay away from all the distractions and trying to stay away from rabbit holes and really try to focus on what those insights mean for us. And for us, it's just simple. How do we filter through it? We ask a series of fixed but very basic, principled, and practical questions. Questions like, are these insights even actionable? I mean, it's nice to know that this is the top-selling SKU from 9 a.m. to 9:30, as an example, but what are you going to do with that data, right? So for us, is it actionable? And if so, are these actions going to be consistent with our mission of elevating the Filipino expats consumer experience? Is it consistent with our identity as a premium specialty neighborhood food store that caters to Filipinos? Are these actions going to require money, time, or resources that we currently don't have? Or are these actions, if ignored, will they hurt the business in the long term? So based on this very unforgiving filter that we've set up, we're actually able to really focus, and we're able to dedicate our energies into what will build value, what will increase customer satisfaction, and what will create shareholder value in the long run. So for us, it's really about just taking that wealth and flood of data and somehow managing to filter it into specific actionable points that are sustainable, that are consistent with our strategy, our identity, and our mission. And it's just as simple as that for us, really. So I think the biggest challenge is the filtering. And once you get there, really, the execution and the planning around those insights will be so much easier.
Brilliant, fantastic. Thank you, Lito. And Manish, obviously, Grandiose is a household name in Dubai. You guys, obviously, doing some great things in the market. Recently, in your stores, I've seen some technology-based initiatives that you have launched recently. So can you give us more insights into your perspective on how data is leveraging, obviously, your decision-making?
So thanks. I'll first start with consumer insights, since this was about consumer insights. So when I looked at the market, there are lots of these retailers. Some of them are targeting the upper end, like Spinneys or Waitrose. Some of them are targeting specific ethnic groups. So maybe Lulu was for the Indians, etc. So what Grandiose supermarkets is about is, for the discerning customers, we call ourselves as no store like it, which means that it's not just supermarkets, but it's food. So I think the first stage is understanding who's your customer. Are you targeting everybody or are you targeting somebody very specific? Now, I think we mentioned Dubai is a market with 200 nationalities. But these nationalities are also not stable. They're dynamic. Take the Indian community. There was a lot of talk about the Indian community. So an Indian who stays in Karama or who stays in Meadows or who stays in Emirates Hills, they are very different. And they are also on a journey of internationalizing. So if you say that this is my Indian assortment and you copy it across all your stores, you'll go horribly wrong. So the amount or extent of fine-tuning, so that's where you understand your consumers. And how do you understand consumers? Of course, like he mentioned, there's no substitute to actually, as a CEO, not sitting in your office and walking the stores and interacting with as many consumers as possible. But of course, you can't do that at scale. And then you suffer from the problem that my wife says so, so therefore this must be right. We obviously don't do that. So you work through a series of partners, the household panel, for example, what your store managers tell you, for example, and then you collate everything. The other thing which we do, or rather what we have started doing in a big way, and we intend to do it much more, is most of the retail organizations don't know their customers because it's a cash retail receipt. But if you have a loyalty program, that's where your data really comes from. So we've just started mining it. I won't claim that we do a lot. But now we know, is there a difference between when we acquire a customer to where he flirts with the categories and our brand, to where he becomes a loyal and an extremely loyal customer? What is the difference? What are the category differences? How is the deepening of that average bill value? Then you can say that, okay, for example, we discovered that the fresh category, so it's fruit and veg, it's meats, and maybe bakery. These are routes to achieving loyalty. So if we were to accelerate the customer's adoption of these three categories, we would achieve loyalty much faster. And then we could say that, okay, can we give promotions? Like he said, today all of us issue leaflets and we go all over the place. You know, the same 100, 200 leaflets, item price communication. Now it's time, because we have that technology and because we have a deep dive, we can actually customize it, saying, okay, you're a Russian national shopping at this store and maybe there are 300 of you. So can we customize it? So that's the next stage of how your data and how you use data at what cost can actually make a difference. Not everybody will have that wealth of data, but whoever has it, my strong recommendation is that if you use this approach, you will be able to get loyal customers. And from your core loyal customers, you will actually get people who refer your brand. Because today you can spend on, the media is getting fragmented. So your customer insights are, earlier, like he said, life was very simple. People used to have one newspaper coming to their homes. And you just advertise in that newspaper, you will reach your consumers. Now life has become much more complicated than that. And he mentioned, Mr. Mohamed mentioned youngsters, right? Youngsters don't even look at a newspaper. And what matters to them? What matters to them is platforms. Are you sustainable? Do you have vegan products? Are you organic? And these young customers are actually starting to make a choice. Earlier we used to believe, assortment, pricing, promotion, availability, customer service, all these are enough. If you do this, you'll attract customers, and just put a leaflet out, you will get customers. Now the young customer is so discerning. He or she is saying, are you standing for the right values? Are you standing for the right goals? Are you standing for the right platforms? Only then I will choose to shop with you. So consumer insights, depending on which consumer segment are you really identifying it, is becoming more difficult. But then if you stand for the right causes, if you have clarity on who your consumer is, I think you'll start doing a much better role. We are, as a team, the Grandiose team is here, we are trying to do our best to be on that journey. But it's a fascinating market.
Fantastic. Thank you, Manish. Mohamed, at Unicoop, you mentioned that digital innovation and transformation is very important for yourself. It's at the core of your business strategy. Can you give us an example of how your transformation journey in your organization has helped you transform your company operations or your process setting procedures?
See, in any business, technology and innovation is so important. Now, when it comes to retail, as an example, and a case study of Union Co-op, going back to the point of understanding the customer, from a loyalty program, you can understand the consumer life cycle, you can understand the household itself from a cycle perspective. What sort of items do they need when they get married? What sort of promotions do you need to offer them when they get a baby or a child? What sort of promotion you should push? Let alone as well, innovation and technology can help in rewarding consumers. There is a part in the human nature, as you just said, correctly said, that rewarding and that personal attention, that personal touch. It's not a store, it's not just a gondola, it's not just a wall. It's more about how you interact with them from an emotional perspective, but most importantly from an individual perspective. That single person, who is he or she, and what do they need?
Absolutely. Thank you. Fred, you are investing quite significantly into AI-enabled tools. Can you give us some insights into some of the tools that you have launched recently?
Well, we have to understand that Raya consists of about 50 stores that are widespread all over the western part of Saudi Arabia. Our stores are often in secondary town, and obviously we don't have the budget to afford to have very skilled manpower in these stores. So the question is, how do we ensure that we have quality across all our stores, and that we have the same standard and the same performance? And in this regards, we have tested the system of computer vision that is powered by artificial intelligence that allow us to ensure that all procedures are actually implemented in the stores, but also that customer service is properly done. So, for example, some of the conclusion of this was, for example, in some stores, we noticed that we had long queue at our fresh counter for cheese and pickle, or at bakery after Fajr prayer, because actually people would come to our stores to pick up bread and fresh cheese and pickles to have their breakfast. So these are the kind of things that artificial intelligence highlighted to us. And again, it's not in 50 stores, it was in some stores. In some other stores, we noted that the refilling of promotion was not in line with the customer flow. So that helped us reorganize a bit the work of our team to meet customer expectations.
Fantastic, brilliant, thank you. My next question is for you, Bejoy. You mentioned obviously data is good, but having the balance between your intuition and your gut feeling, and obviously the data-driven numbers that we get bombarded with, is finding that right balance. So how do you find that right balance and make sure that you are keeping your gut feeling and intuition and your staff feedback aligned as well to your decision making?
Anjum, I'll get to that. Just a few points on what the gentleman just spoke.
Sure.
Again, when you say AI, in our business it's data science, and it's probably, I would say, something that comes within the spectrum, yeah, but it's not completely AI. So if I look at data today, that is not what's going to drive your business. It's how you put your mind to what you get that will drive our business, right? So these inferences will give us directions. These directions would let us put our money where our ROI would really work. For example, if I decide to have a major bakery initiative in a particular demography where the investment can be anywhere between 6 to 8 million dirhams, in an Asian segment where dominantly they are rice eaters, and then, or I put that investment into where the Europeans are, where that's an equivalent of rice for them. So these kind of innovations that you would want to bring, I didn't mean bakeries and innovation. All I'm trying to say is any innovation investments that you want to bring onto the shop floor, you would like to bring it on with certain information that can be derived not only from your database. So there is a wealth of information outside your database with partners of yours that you work with who can give us inferences that can really, really give back your gut feel. But ultimately, it's your gut feel. You can't go back to the board and say, the data said so. You've got to bring in the money. You've got to give the ROI. You've got to make sense of it. And most of us aim at rewards as well. So that's a key factor. Talking about people and how you really bring it. Today I can tell you the aspiration of the human behavior hasn't moved too far away from what probably we learned in school of the Maslow's theory, yeah? Just that in the need hierarchy, self-actualization used to be on the top, but you bring it, these days it starts way young. And you know, we are talking about a generation today that we are addressing. I call my son, he doesn't answer. 2, I call my son, he doesn't answer. 3, he doesn't answer. I send a text, he immediately replies. This is the generation that we are going to cater down the line. So knowing them, and if we are looking at, so the human aspect in our business will always remain, it'll be on the top shelf. And I can tell you, retaining the Gen Zs of the world, people like us who are dressed up like this, they won't be interested to work with us. They don't like our attitudes. They have a different approach. Gone are the days when they would be binding themselves to one single employer. So you've got to give them the environment. You've got to give them the aspiration. Above all, it's the need hierarchy of recognition. You've got to recognize them, and this is what will retain good people with yourself. So how much of relevance we give our human capital should not be anywhere close to what you give for AI. Because the factors of big data management and big data inferences is very different. And I can tell you, retailers like ourselves, like I said, our businesses have very, very thin margins. We have to operate at top efficiency. You've got to get highest return on our shelves. So investing into data and investing into AI and investing into such technologies are extremely expensive. So do we as retailers do it? Does our scale permit us to do it? Or do we go for pure play? Do we work with specialists who are experts in their respective fields? We can't be good at everything, right? So today, if you see, I'll just touch on the online and the brick and mortar. Brick and mortar is here to stay. We know it's here to stay. But the online grocers, many of us started with our own online systems, right? When sooner or later you realize 5 or 6 aggregators do 5 times the volume we do. So, and this is normal, and we would go and put 10,000 SKUs, and we know 4,000 SKUs bring in the business. And out of that, the top 20% gives you your revenue. So, would you want to invest all that money and focus on what is not your specialism, or would you give it to a pure play aggregator and tell them, do the technology for me, do the marketing for me, you understand this business, you understand that part of the business better, I will do what I'm good at. I bring the products in place, I continue being relevant to the shopper, I continue bringing the right assortment into my stores, right assortment in the online space as well as the offline space. And all this cannot be just driven by machine learning.
Okay. Thank you, Bejoy. Lito, my next question is for you. Do you use technology to get customer feedback as well? Because customer feedback is equally important, as much important as the data that we get from the systems and the tools once they are inside the stores, in terms of our fast sellers, our slow movers, SKU efficiency, and what have you. So what tools do you have, or what methodologies do you use to get the customer feedback and then utilize that to then help you make the right decisions for them?
I mean, obviously, same as everyone else is here, customer feedback is super important to us. And so the great part about it as a startup now is the number of tools that are available to us, and we're really happy about that. So yes, we do have our ERP systems in place. We have a very robust POS system. We have social listening tools available to us as well. We work with a lot of agencies, a lot of insights that we gather from market research, from surveys, from focus group discussions. So we actually try and gather that all. In fact, and we talked a little bit about personalizing. For us, we actually, because of all of these tools that we use and gathering all this feedback, we're able to segment. We cater primarily to Filipinos. We're the fourth largest population, expat population in the UAE out of 200 nationalities here. We are number 4. So there are roughly about 710,000 Filipinos here, but that's the official number. We all know that for many reasons, there are far more than that moving around. So, but we've managed to segment this massive, massive target group into subgroups. And this is what Manish was referring to when he was talking about, you know, the difference with the Indian in one place in Karama and a difference between him and Silicon Oasis. It would be the same for us. So we actually have these very distinct personas. You know, we have, and we name them. We actually know their background. We know them as people already. They're our friends. So we have Aling Nene, we have Manong Roger, we have Maria Cristina, we have even Ahmed Abasi, who's married to a Filipina. So we have all these personalities. And for us, just being able to dial down into this. And when we get feedback, we're able to find out where that feedback is coming from. Is that feedback coming from Aling Nene, or is that feedback coming from Maria Cristina? And for us to be able to understand them even better, the more data we get from the tools that we have, the more real these people become to us. You know, and so whenever we have any talks about strategy, we always refer back to them. We say, yeah, but how would Aling Nene like this? Or what is Manong Roger looking for when he's going through the stores on this particular time, for instance? You know, what is he looking for at the end of the year? So all of these things, we were able to have those conversations almost with people in our rooms, and we always are very. We're very careful about not falling for the shiny object mentality where, oh, that's the latest, newest thing, and we're so excited to jump into that. So for us, it's about really checking. I mean, we have a digital native in our persona called Maria Cristina, and Chris, as we call her, she would love contactless payments, and she would love apps, and she would love to be able to scan augmented reality codes all over our store. But then you have Aling Nene, who's a little bit more, she's analog. And so she pays cash over the counter. And so we have to make sure that when we talk about innovations and how to integrate them in our systems, that we don't leave anyone behind. That while we're serving Chris, we're not leaving Ate Alice behind. We're making sure that we're not just innovating for the sake of innovation, but actually really responding to actual customers. And by the way, in some scenarios, we put them in the boardroom with actual photos generated by AI, of course, and they sit with us. And so we always just make sure that as a funny exercise, that they are present when we talk about any innovations or any challenges. And when we talk about feedback, then we also say, who's that coming from, and what does that mean to us? And again, going back to the questions, is it actionable and all that? So for us, it's really about knowing them to that detail.
Thank you, Lito. Fred, obviously, in Saudi, where your business is at the moment, 60% of the population is below the age of 30. And we know the young consumers, they are changing their buying behaviors very frequently. The information is overloaded onto the device that we all carry with us. They're very tech-savvy, very active on social media. So how do you make sure that you evolve with the required speed of the customer evolution?
Well, sure. I think that as I said before, Saudi Arabia is changing and changing very fast. One key change is that in the past, grocery shopping used to be entertainment. Now, entertainment is entertainment. And grocery shopping can be perceived as a core. So that means that the share of budget that used to be dedicated to grocery shopping has been shrinking because people are dedicating more of their budget to the coffee shop, to cinemas, to any kind of other entertainment. So one of our first action has been to offer entry price, as I said before, so that we can attract also these people that actually can afford big brands, but decided that they prefer to dedicate the budget to entertainment and buy entry price item for some categories. That's one thing. Another difference is even on import, we've seen a niche of healthy item because the youth is more concerned about health and healthy food, but also very concerned about price. So we opted with our partner of Tamimi Markets to import great value brands at a low price point. And I've been very, very surprised at the extraordinary impact of these items. Healthy items that usually don't sell in our stores have been selling like hotcake as soon as we could reach that price point with top quality features. Another area is people used to cook home or to have people that would cook for them. Now what we see is that in areas where we have a lot of offices, the youth is keen to have food to go. Food to go in Saudi Arabia, this is a first. So we are developing now a production center so that we prepare food to go in a neighborhood where we have a lot of offices. So all these are changes that have come very, very quickly and to which we do our best to react, but that means also communicating with our teams and explaining what we are trying to do for these kind of customers.
Thank you, Fred. Mohamed, you have invested recently quite significantly into your omni-channel strategy. Can you give us some insights into how your omni-channel journey has been so far?
Like any other business, when it comes to omni-channel, primarily it's a focus between quick commerce and e-commerce. What we have noticed is that quick commerce is actually have more frequent sort of orders than regular e-commerce. And the reason why people tend to forget and then they tend to order once and twice again. So this is from an omni-channel perspective. However, something just triggered my attention when Frederic, so by the way, Frederic, we used to work together in math, and in my previous life, I spent 7 years in Saudi. He said something that is extremely so important, in my opinion, and true. Shopping in a hypermarket used to be a mode of entertainment. But the question is today, how can the shopping become a mode of lifestyle in Saudi? This is one. The second thing, and I'm sorry, I'm hijacking his Saudi Arabia sort of, but I'm really passionate about Saudi as well. The second question is, so we spoke about shopping not becoming entertainment, but the second question is, how can you offer the right product to the right customer, and how can you have the right planogram for your customers? 3 is the youth. If I may as well say, 75% of the population is actually below 40. Saudi is a different market. It's really how you can grab that customer in Saudi Arabia.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mohamed. Manish, obviously, at Grandiose, e-commerce is again at the core of your business strategy, and I believe you guys have made some great movement in your e-commerce and omni-channel proposition. So can you give us some insights into how the journey has been so far, and how you are obviously getting yourself ready for what's coming in the future with the likes of competing against all e-commerce players in the market, the competition, as well as the third parties like Noon, Talabat, so on and so forth.
So we have our own app, the Grandiose app, and we also deal and partner with all the aggregators. Some of them are very strong on the grocery side like InstaShop. Some of them are very strong on the food side like Talabat. And as I mentioned, our proposition is we are not just a grocery supermarket. We also deal in a lot of food. So you can order pizzas, shawarmas, burgers, grab and go, which you mentioned. Now, and our e-com business is growing very, very fast. It's growing faster than the offline. Both are growing. This is growing faster. But it's now forcing us to do a lot of things in our basic operations. For example, when we are saying that we have got some of the best coffees that we do, but a coffee will not travel that easily unless we change the packaging. This is just one example of how a business process has got to be changed. In an offline mode, a customer will just walk into a shelf, and if he doesn't find an item, we will probably have our sales staff, associates spread the items, and perhaps the customer will not know. But on the online, he or she will definitely know that you are out of stock, and that then becomes a very unforgiving experience for us. So whether it is inventory accuracy, whether it is packaging, we are also picking from our stores. So that poses its own challenges to a person from operations, that the consumer is also choosing to pick from online as well as she's walking in. So that inventory has to be somehow partitioned and enough of it. Not too much, not too little. So that's again forcing us to be a little more accurate. So if you ask me, we are poised for growth, but we've got to make these changes to our packaging, to our basic processes. Maybe a last mile solution which we have currently needs to be improved, because as he said, there is quick commerce and there's e-commerce. But now the distinction between the two is narrowing, because everybody wants delivery of anything in 45 minutes. And if you can't do that, then they're again going to say you're not good enough. So the rest of your proposition will be good, but you'll fail just because of the last mile delivery. Sorry to again talk about AI, but today, when a customer doesn't find a product, he or she would like to look at substitutes.
Correct.
So that's where your backend and your AI will say that, okay, what are these substitute products? And you keep them ready through the software route rather than some call center trying to suggest something. So these are basically some of the changes that we are having to make as we transition our online business from largely grocery to grocery plus food. By the way, we also have flowers. You can order flowers and cakes. So simple thing, our cake packaging, our cakes are moving in the box. So obviously, nobody will like a ruined cake when they receive it. So basic stuff like this, working on packaging. Flowers need a different kind of supply chain, You can't deliver flowers on a bike. So that needs, let's say, a car. So can you do it from all the small and large stores? The answer is no. So things like this keep our teams really, really active, and scratch your head and lose whatever little hair we've got. So I think the online business is very challenging, but if you work hard enough on the basic processes, then I think you can do very well. Coming to the AI on the online, so there is, of course, data that you want, which is how many customers are browsing, how many are adding to cart, how many are dropping, which banners are being clicked, what is the click-through rate, because when you try to go ahead and sell space to brands, they're going to ask these hard questions. Why should I invest in your brand? If you don't have this analytics, nobody is going to invest. So these are basic things that come with the online business.
Thank you, Manish. My next question is for you, Bejoy. The staff that we have a lot of Gen Zs, we have a lot of young blood in our workforce. And obviously, like our customers, they are constantly evolving and changing. So how do you make sure that you face the challenge of high staff retention to make sure that you retain your staff and not lose them to your customers, your competitors?
I'm sure what I'm going to say will be harmonious across the panel. all of us want to retain the right resource, and everybody else want who we think is the right resource. So, so like you said during my introduction, I've moved a few companies in the past 25 years that I've been here. And I can tell you something that recently happened real time, and I can be bold enough to say it. So when you move organizations, you have a set of team that you want with you and build the business, yeah? So let's say my transition took about 8 months. There was a set of team that I thought should be part of our team in the new organization. And I chose them, spoke to them, and they were convinced. But the young guys found a job with a more recent online grocer. And he turned around and told me, I don't get paid as much, but I love the environment. I love to work for these guys. They relate to my aspirations. And it's not always the remuneration. It's the environment, it's the recognition, it's the whole, in their language, the vibe that is great. Their lingo is different. I mean, the words they use are different. You may not even understand them if you sit and have a meeting with them. Their slangs, the Gen Z's slangs are like fire. So what's fire? I mean, the other day I was saying something to my son and he said, bad. And I thought, why is that bad? He said, no, that means good. These are your shoppers, right? So you've got to face the fact. And at the end of the day, these are the guys you want to retain. So I'm telling you, I recently attended a conference where a Gen Z was speaking, and she looked at all of us sitting in the crowd and said, you guys really think I'm going to come and work for you? I mean, look at you, the tie that you wear, the suits that you wear. This is not what they aspire for. So if you're really aspiration of having a proper succession in place, there's something I believe in. I like to hire people who work with me who are at least a decade younger than me. Maybe more now. I said this when I was 40, so now I'm 50. So 2 decades younger than me, because these guys come from a different school. And they learn from our seasoning. We are seasoned, right? We've been through the grind. While these guys have just come out with saying, I want to turn this place around. So you learn from them of all the new, today, okay, so I started my career in marketing. I was in the agency, I was in the advertising agency business. What we did then is totally redundant. It doesn't relate. We're talking about flyers even now. Yes, because you have a demography that's probably over the age of 35, 40 who still do, but these guys don't come off their mobile screens. I mean, there was a time when you said you can't use mobile at work, or you can't keep looking at, you got to let them do it, otherwise they take offense of it. So you got to be flexible. You got to give them an environment where they will work. You can't think of, you got to give them their space, and they'll be productive. They will turn it around. These guys are smart. And if you thought, you told them, give me your passports, it's going to be in my backyard for the next 2 years, when you go on a holiday, they'll say, no, sorry, the law says I can keep the passport. You can't treat them like you were treated. Let's put it that way. You can't treat these guys like you were treated. So to retain them is about, it's not about, I remember the early days when Google had pool tables in their office. Everybody kept a pool table, but if anybody spent time in it or had a game, we had a problem. So either you let them, so you can't wear the new socks and have the old one in the pocket. You got to take that attitude out. And if you ever thought, I'm telling you, this is where it's going. If you think you can have labor contracts that bind someone to work with you for the next, whole year, sorry. These guys will be moonshining for sure. They will work for 2, 3 organizations, and that will be legal. That will be legal. You can't get them bound to a 9-hour shift. No, these guys will work in different places. So they know what their worth is. They know their services are definitely needed and can be in multiple organizations. And this is where this Gen Z population is going. So thankfully, if you still have 35 plus, we are lucky. We can't continue with this. I'm sure there is a time when we got to be open and we got to allow succession to come in, and they will come in, and the way they drive our business is what the market will need down the line.
Thank you, Bejoy. My last question is going to be for everyone to answer, please. How do you envision our sector to transform in the future? And what do you think your organization, what role your organization will play in that transformation towards the society?
I think, as a summary, smaller, fresher, cleaner. When I say cleaner, not in terms of cleanliness, but in terms of clearer, yeah. So smaller, fresher, cleaner.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mohamed. Fred?
I think that there will be an increased focus on sustainability. When you see the planet warming, it's above all expectations. Also, a greater focus on secure food and healthy food. A prominence of technology, because technology is becoming everywhere in the life of our customers, and it's going to become everywhere in our life. And the question is, how do you let technology serve the humans and not the other way around? And personalization, because technology allows personalization, and that also can promote convenience, because people have not only a financial budget, but a time budget, and there is only so much time they want to dedicate to their shopping. And the better we can match that time, the more they will value our business. And then I would say for brick and mortar, there is something that I believe will not change. It's the social role of supermarket. It is in Raya, we are at the heart of our communities for 30 years. We bake the bread of our customers. They come every day in the morning. So there is a social role that allows us to connect with our neighborhood. And these connections, it's an essential part of the experience. And that, with or without technology, it will not disappear.
Brilliant. Thank you, Fred. Bejoy?
Sum it up, I would say our industry is fast changing. We got to be as radical as the audience that we are catering to. I'm with Mohamed on the fact that we got to understand our format. We need to have a multi-format, and we cannot be rigid saying, I need a rectangular box. You got where the customers are, you got to pitch in a model, and you cannot stick to just one business model. We need to have multiple business models. If you're familiar with a hard discounter called BIM, they are from Turkey, and if you see the way their stores are to a hard discounter like Lidl or Aldi, the core is the same, but the model is different. When we look at our businesses, sustainability is the key, and all our business practices is revolving around sustainable practices that derive our margins at the end and derive our business results at the end. Be more relevant to the shopper, be agile to the changing environment, ever-changing environment, and the quicker you are to adapt and move on, and agility should be, and fundamental, you got to have certain ethos and values that remain in the business as well. So amidst that, you circulate all the other practices that you would bring on board to keep your business successful. So a multi-format strategy, gone are the days, back in the days we would say I have 56 checkouts, that's not smart anymore. I have 12,000 square meters, you're dumb, probably you could realize the same revenue with 3,000. So you got to know what the model should be, what the format should be, where you got to put in your money, where it works, and adapt to the changing mindset and the changing formats of our business. Online is fastest growing, yes, for all of us, because it comes from a low base. Brick and mortar is here to stay. And online is one amongst the channels in your formats. So you got to build it around. There wouldn't have been another reason why Amazon came and took over Whole Foods, right? So brick and mortar is here to remain. You just have to be realistic with what you do.
Brilliant. Thank you, Bejoy. Lito?
You know what? When we started the panel, we just met outside, and we were joking about, Mohamed was joking about how we're all competitors. But actually, one change in the industry that I'm seeing in our market survey shows is what I refer to as the promiscuity of our customers. Right now, our customers consider themselves loyal to as many as 4 groceries or supermarkets, but they consider themselves loyal to them. And even in my own personal experience, I mean, I go to Unicoop for my basic needs. I'll go to Grandiose for my very selective cheeses or cold cuts or whatever. And then I'll go to another place for pork and the rest. And then, of course, I'll go to another place, a bargain supermarket for my dog food and my dishwasher tablets. But I consider myself loyal to all those 4. And as the consumers change, I think this promiscuity will continue and expand, whereas they won't consider themselves loyal anymore to 4, but maybe to 8 to 10. So we will no longer be talking as competitors, but more almost as collaborators, that all of us will be together trying to meet only very specific ones, especially when Bejoy talks about no longer having 12,000 square meters, but only 3,000 square meters. Then we'll get more and more niche, and then that means that we'll fulfill different needs of the same consumer. My consumers will be going to you, and your consumers will be going to me, but they'll be going for us for a very different reason. So that's the first one. So it only means that growth in the industry will continue, and more players will come in to fulfill those 8 to 10 places, right? The second one is just the democratization of what, and we talked about it earlier, what the tools can allow. I can safely and quite confidently say that I'm happy that I'm in a position as a startup now with only 2 stores, but we have the same systems and same capabilities of learning as, let's say, a massive place as Grandiose. I'm old enough to remember the days when only SAP was the only name in the game. But now I am able to have ERP systems as robust and with insights as robust, with all the tools available to me, but at much easier prices and with AI and everything else. So that means that the entry level is actually going to be lower for, the barriers will be lower for more players to enter. And as more players come in and more the promiscuity of customers expand, then I think it just means that this industry will be here to stay and will grow on, and it will continue to grow.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lito. And last but not least, Manish.
So lots of trends, some have already been spoken about by the earlier speakers. So in a sense, what's going to happen is both husband and wife working is going to become more and more as both the partners get more and more educated, and as society liberalizes, that will happen, which means time will start, convenience, and therefore shortage of time and convenience will start becoming more and more important. So very clearly, online is here to stay. Now, what we've got to be very clear about as retailers, and a lot of us profess loyalty to brick and mortar, is it going to be online browsing and offline shopping? If it is offline shopping, then its price and promotions are no longer going to be enough. So something unique has to happen. So is it experience? We are a little lucky in that journey because we've got food, the best pizzas, what we claim, or the best cheeses, come and sample it. And therefore, there have to be events that what will bring the customer in. Secondly, if you really look at the life of a customer, and we were discussing that in earlier this week. So when we talk of the woman customer, we believe that when a woman walks into a store, she picks up around the basket. When a man walks into a store, he's going to pick up his coffee and his stuff and walk out very selfishly, unless he's following a given shopping list. So if we have to get the woman into the store, then we've got to do something which recognizes that she has very little time. She's either picking up her kids from school or getting them home. But she's harried. And how does she get respite? So if we can give her at least half an hour of me time with her friends, then that's a consumer insight. And that's going to be more and more. Can we do something which brings the family in? The kids get an area to play. The wife gets to do her little bit of, beauty at the nail bar that we run. The husband gets to eat his burgers. And if we can manage all this, the trend is going to be all that was said before. You have to stand for sustainability, vegan, right, stand for the right causes without being political. So that's a very thin balancing act. But within the store, if you want to continue to have traffic into the store, You have to give them a damn strong reason which is not available online. And online also, your experience, like I said, it's very unforgiving. So 45 minutes or you are out. So I think that's the journey that we are also on, and we learn every day.
Great. That concludes our session. Gentlemen, thank you very much. It was a very insightful session. I hope the audience found it insightful as well. Thank you once again.